Hello to everyone, this is Vishal and again we are on the new session of the day that is led to our jetpack states. So recently I uploaded the video related to the Flutter. So apparently we are going with the sessions of jetpack also. So we'll we will contrast both the apps, how we can implement these things, and but for that we need a very basic things that's very important for us, that how we can use those classes, those APIs. So that's very important for here. So today we talk about the advanced state and where we can check that how the state is working in jetpack, and the same will follow for the Flutter in future sessions. And but for now, that how we can implement these things, and that is important whenever we do the login registration and many things with it. So the basic purpose of this, that we have to cover up to jetpack coroutines. So we started from the state and then uh, work with the coroutines also with the jetpack. As I have already shared a simple coroutine functionalities how we can implement in the coroutine. But a lot of things we have a differ related to that in your jetpack composable. So composable function, that is new, as you know about that. So a lot of things be there, so there'll be eagerness that how can implement or likewise that. So just so if you see that in every language, either or in any programming, we can say that whenever we talk about the state, so like if you're doing something input, or that means we need any flow on that. So this is called here we have to state, I mean there be something the state on that, means where we can get or set at the runtime the things, the basic thing behind the scene. So here we can say that state in an app is in any value that can change over a time. Like if you're doing some input in the login, if you're doing any input in the registration, so that all be, we can say that is the state. So you're doing this text enters, many examples. If you go on the page related to the Android where we have a jetpack this state, so you can see that these all examples be there. We are doing some commands, we are doing any snack bar, we are doing stickers, so a lot of things be there. But what exactly is it, so we can explore it. So the jetpack compose helps you that you to explicit about where and how you store and use state in the Android app. So we can say that here we are using the composable, so we are focused on that. So here we are using some API. So API, why we saying that API, so that also we'll discuss later, but at this time this is simple, you can say that we have a some UI state that is very important. So if you say that if you're doing some text field and if we entering it and doing some value, we enter it, and then it means it changing some values, so that means it updated the state there. Okay, so like if you say that if we have a simple outline text field, and if you're doing just a simple example, as I checked that on the Android page, so I'm taking the same here, and then whatever we are putting here, it comes in your text. So that is your composable, but with the states. But how we can maintain that, how it works, because of if we're doing something with this, it never comes with the text. I will show you practically. But if we're using some holders, we can say that which can run these states, so that means we need it. So that means state in composable means we are using this very important point that is called here remember. And what is this by? That is also be a very 2 points very important here, that is by and remember. And the other is that mutable states of. So we'll describe it one by one, but the main thing is that composable functions can use the remember API to store an object in memory. So here I'm talking about, whenever we are talking about that state, whenever talking about the remember, so these called be the APIs here. Okay, but why the API is called here, I mean we'll discuss some other day, but here you just put in mind that where we have a remember is a kind of API where we can store some value. So that means it is using for the composition during initial compositions. So likewise that if you're saying that uh, if you need to put something at in the runtime, means during your app run, means you filling some form, you're doing some login entries. So that time you can use this remember API. So with the mutable state will do. I mean, we have some other day lecture on that. So the remember API also takes your key and key parameters. We can pass these things also. Okay. But a jetpack compose will automatically refresh all the parts of the user interface that depends on the values. That is called your recomposition. Okay. So means whenever you refresh the things, that means your app be restarted, or whenever you're doing that, you go to the some other page and back to us that page, or many things be there. So that means if you're doing some refreshing on that, so that is called your recomposition of the things. So here we can say that we have a two important part, that is called mutable state and the other is your remember. So the remember is to not to lose the current values, that is very important, and mutable state to tell jetpack compose that a variable a state variable, simple. So the mutable state means state variable and remember means it not loses the value. So whenever you're doing anything, that means you can use this. That is the most important point, where name by remember and whatever be. Okay. So let's start it. Many things be there, but we will discuss today what is the remember, what is by, what is remember savable. So that's the most important whenever we work with this jetpack compose. Okay. So we'll discuss it one by one, but first we'll see the example of the remember and how we can implement these things in your jetpack compose. So I think the two things we have to at this time on very first level, 2 points in your mind, that what is the state and how you maintain the state. We have a mutable state, that means it is a kind of a state, and if you want to store this value somewhere, that is called your remember. Remember can remember as the name it is remember. And the by is very important thing. So by means we are doing some set values or get values, like means if you want to do some set or get, so that means by can do these things. So let's start it in Android Studio. Here we have a new project and I'm giving the name to this project. This is test state application. Okay, so we'll see. It take a time. Yeah, now done. And as this is the default activity, we have a component activity for the jetpack, as you know that in our new Android Studios. So as I already created the previous videos for the composable, so here it's very simple. So once it's complete Gradle be loaded, then we'll start for this and we'll see one by one what to do. Okay, so there the default function we have a composable here, that is called greeting be. They provided, but it's not required here, so I'm removing it. And this composable not required for now, and this greeting I'm removing. Okay, so what to do, as the given example in the site for the how we can test the state. So I'm just checking that example. So for this we need a one composable, so that composable be your fun, and then you can say the state test, that composable. And for now what to do, two things be required, because of we are testing that input values or remember values for the state. So one thing is that we need a simple input text, and need to present that so simple text value where we have to present it. So these the two values we here. So for if you require the two things we here, so we need a column format. Okay, so what to do, we just create a column for this. Yeah, this is the column. Okay, and for the first input we have a text value. So for this, what it required, outline text. We have very good whenever we using any input text here, and here I'm just choosing the value blank, and here is the function. So it's very deep meaning of this on value change, we'll discuss it. And here what to do, here the text is required. Okay, so I'm just checking this is text, and for the little bit padding we need it. So for the padding, what to do, you just go for the modifier, and modifier is your modifier dot padding, and at this time I am doing dot 16 point dp padding. Okay, so it's showing that, yeah. Okay, so this is very simple. So these things we required for but input values, and what to do, yeah, just make it simple. And for this text values also we need one more modifier, so it will become perfectly modifier dot padding 8 point dp. Okay, so our first step be clear. So that's very simple, because of when we'll do the work on the login, so that will, I mean, that will very clear to you, that it's clear picture to you what be the state. So that's my motive is to just describe to you these things. Okay, so we'll see in your greeting preview. So for this, what we need a state test here. I'm just putting it, and we'll see what happened for the presentation for this. Okay, so for this I'm just choosing the build and refresh, and we'll see what happened. Okay, so if you see that here under the column we have two widgets. Number one is your outline text, in which you can enter the values. This is whatever the render or whatever be the state becomes here. Okay, so these two be very simple. And here what to do, I'm just using a small change in it. So this is your label, and I'm doing for the labeling a simple text input, and say that this is enter name. So what the difference means, this is the value whatever be insert in this text, and whatever be the label, it means we just giving the hint to user. So for the styles, whatever be, whenever you create the login or registration, so works accordingly. But here at this time our main emphasis is to just describe the states. Okay, so here this you can see that simple enter name and this text. So that's enough for now. Now you can see that if we will enter the value something in it, so nothing be changed in this text, because of there is no remember value. So how to represent the state and how to remember the value, what is the use of that will start it. But for this I need to attach my real device to this. So first I am doing that connectivity here. Okay, now it connected to our real device, and it's showing the blank because of we have to call this as well here to test the things in our real devices. Okay, so just we need to check that how it comes. Okay, so you can see that this is the top on the, we have our inter values, and here we have this text. Here I'm just, if I'm doing anything with this, nothing happen. Okay, nothing happen because of, as the value is just simple, we have this one, blank, nothing we have. So no reflection grid, it means we are doing nothing with this, there is no state, nothing else. So the first point is that how we can call this, how we can use this. So if I'm putting any value be here, you can see that this is the value at very first level. Okay, so it's showing whatever be the value it is, but whatever I put it. So for this, what to do means, if you want to enter something and want to show something, so we required some value b as an a mutable, and that mutable values we have to remember, and that remember we have to call by by. So that's by is very important because of it be used as a get and set at the runtime. So that I will show you that how this be possible. Okay, so let's see. Okay, so here if you see that we have an outline text that I already described, and one thing that is the most important, if I declare the values with the state as in the state we want to enter, so what to do, I'm just declaring here my variable, and here I'm just checking the where, and that where I'm where name is your by, that is very important by. Okay, this is your remember, and here it's showing the brackets. Okay, so what to do, under that curly bracket you have to put mutable state of. So you can see that here multiple things be there, mutable state, mutable map, set, list, map, list of, set of. So these all be the most important, but here I'm talking about the states, so just giving the blank. Okay, so here sometimes it asking for alt enter, we are doing, we have get set the values by remember means we are get and set the values be here. So this is, you can see that here yeah, you can see that compose runtime get value and compose runtime set value, this will happen by. Okay, that means you have to remember, that means you have to remember at in the runtime that our state is mutable, and that mutable state is our value which we want to enter. So that enter value we have to bind it here, and here on value change it showing be like name is equals to it. So that means this is the most important also on value change. I will describe you how it calls. Okay, so these we'll see, and here I'm using hi. This is your dollar and then name. Okay, so whatever be it comes. Okay, so if I'm doing any entry here, you can see that hello, and I'm giving that name. So you can see that it just giving under the state, and that state get the value using the by, and then it set the value be here. So whatever be the state comes, it I am showing here. So this is a simple, and on value change it comes whatever be the state we have remember. So at a runtime, whatever be the state we need to remember, that is a mutable state, and that mutable state we have to update it, or if anything required, which is if you go for the update means if we rotate this, so I think it not work because of it lost the value. You can see that it lost the value, and again I am rotating on the previous portrait value. So portrait screen, it again we have a new state. So the every time it not remember. So for this, what we needed, we have a second case that is called remember savable. So if you go with that our old applications, that means in old activities, so on that what we have to do on save, we have a on save method be there, so we are calling on that. I will describe you, but here just you can say that we have a simple steps whenever you're doing the any entry like the registration, like the login, you just using the remember, and whatever be the remember value you can just pass it and then change the states. So this is very important part that I will describe you more about the on value change. So let's see one by one this thing. Okay, so the next point which I want to discuss, that is your savable. Okay, so that means when we some save states required, and in which we are doing any rotation or anything be done. So if you go for the old activity in your Kotlin or in Java, so what we are using there, we are using the save instance state. So according to that we are using it with the bundle. So the same thing we are doing with our jetpack, but not for like this. We are using, we have a many APIs for that. So because of this is called the APIs, and I will take a lecture for this, one more lecture why this called be the APIs. Okay, so you can see that there we have a remember, savable, many things be there. So in a future we'll discuss about the time picker. We have a coroutine, that is the most important, because of my main motive is to describe you from remember to remember savable and also the coroutine. So for now if you're doing with the remember savable and uh, not doing anything with the state saver, but only I am using this remember savable. Okay, so for this what to do, we have a mutable function, and that is the mutable state, and if you using it like this, and if you run this app and then run it with this savable. So what to do means, if you say that this is called your Vishal. Okay, so this Vishal, if I will rotate it, you can see that it is still there. If again go back on the portrait state, it is still there. So that means we can save our state here. So the most important part is, if you are work with your single orientation and you are doing any registration be like that, you are using that remember. But if you required with that in your app both the orientation, portrait and landscape, so we can use it this landscape view. So we are using that save it. So where you want to save our state, whatever we remember, and this by I already told you that is used for our getting settings, I mean get setters, and these all values we have a mutable state. These, but you can see that this all we have a runtime. Okay, these all we have a runtime. So this savable also with the runtime. So these we are using, and then the next part I will describe you that how we can use this on value change. We have another approach, and one more thing, that is the login functionality with this and coroutine scopes. So that is the most important. We have to cover the coroutine also. So one more time, just we check it. The composable functions can use the remember API where we need just simple entry, and those entries we are just frequently used with the mutable state. Okay, so I will describe you one more, because I think already described the mutable, but one in a Java and your Kotlin. But now for the jetpack I will create a one more lecture for this, and also for this API how we can use the keys. So that is also with the important, and as I described you that with the orientation, that we can use the remember savable, that uses the composable function position in the tree as the key of the state persistence. So that means it in a different states or multiple instances of the same composable but different. Okay. So if you're taking the state hosting, that means we take something. That means you can see that on value change. So which are using in our input mode of that text field, whatever we are entering, and then in which you can see that the second function is on value change there. So whenever we are doing any state hosting, so those functions in a input text we are using, one is the value and other is on value change. Okay. So whenever we doing any value change and event, we can say that just like I pass it name is equals to it. So that means an event that requires the values to change where the t is proposed the new value. So the remember savable API behaves similar to the remember because of it retain the state across recompositions. Recomposition, that means as zero orientations we have done, then it again back to the same activity. So like in many times, if you did the checkbox required to be the same, if you need some state you want to consume for the runtime, and then you can back the changes on C, that you can work on like this. Okay, so that is the simple cart. If you give the example for the shopping cart, and the state is whatever be the number of items you are choosing, that the state. Then remember, those remember items you can put it on there, that is when you open the app. And the savable means every time whatever be in your cart, you can open that cart, those items be there. Okay, but the remember means only at a runtime whatever be the items you can use it or you can put it there, but when you save it, so that means you can use the remember saver. So these things we required whenever we doing any cart application or cart app. So I will describe you this also, but main motive is to describe these basic things so you can understand that's very useful in our jetpack, because of we always doing the jetpack and we're doing the just copy it from the some other resources and doing this is not a called development. When you doing with the scratch and everything, you can just learn about that is called the actual working with the whatever you read. Okay, so on the other hand, just one more time I'm saying the remember savable is used to preserving of values across configuration changes like the screen orientation or changes in device orientation. That's most important. So this you have to remember. That's the most important. And I have one more example I will describe you, but at this time, if I'm making a function, any function with this on name change or any value. So on name change, if I call something, and then on name change, if I'm giving the unit to this. So what happened that value be the pass on our text field. And then this is the on value change is your own name change. So this why in the outline text field it comes on value change, because of we are doing some input activity. So whenever we doing any input activity, we need a state, and then for state we need to remember the things and one function that can hold it. So this is we can use it. So that's the most important. And if you go for the stateless, I'm not talking about that today. We have many more examples, we have an events also. I will describe you the next phase, that is related to this on value change related, and then also we are using one login screen or one registration, so we can understand the things. And parallelly, as I discussed, that we are doing the same thing or same activity with the Flutter. So those want to compare both the things, and we'll see both the development, you can check this, because of as I told you, there we are working with the widgets. Inside the widgets there also be the stateful and stateless things, and here that also be the same but in a different approach. So these we have to understand the basic functionality and we'll learn. So because of this doc is related to your jetpack coroutine, so one by one we are checking the tour from the state to that coroutine values. Okay, so thank you so much for the day.